Hey everybody, this is Seth, Keeping It Real. Really glad to have you here today, and I'm really excited to introduce our special guest. The reason I'm excited about it, not only because she is badass at what she does, but she also is my for my Amazon eBay products. And so today I have the privilege and honor of welcoming Linda Flores to the show. And today we're going to talk about, oh, hold on guys, sorry, there's feedback. My bad. Got it. Okay. I have a separate window open with the chat, and there's always a delay, so I have to mute that. But we're going to talk about photography, and I know you guys are constantly looking for ways to get really good photos of your eBay products, in your commerce Shopify store products. And as you guys probably know, getting good photos is a huge part of how you sell your product. I mean, no matter how good that product is, you may have the most amazing coffee mug in the world. See that by the photo, then there's a problem. They're not going to buy it. So that needs to be amazing photos. And I would be embarrassed to show you guys my photos in the early days on an iPod 4. You know, I used to take them on an iPod 4 and we'd go out in the sun, and Linda, it was terrible. We would literally go to the front porch. We would get a, here, I'm going to show you actually. And these whiteboards still work great, but it's 4. So we would have a whiteboard, and we would put the item on the whiteboard and try to get the angle. And it drove me crazy because I noticed there was always this blue tint. And someone years later said, Steph, that's the sky. Somehow the blue sky was reflecting in my photo. So it was a very, very long journey until I met you, and you do absolutely amazing photos. So Linda, welcome.
Hi. Nice to be here.
How is the weather in your city? I hear it's really nice there.
It's beautiful. It seems like it might rain today, which is kind of nice.
So if you guys are wondering, Linda actually lives practically, I'm technically right outside of Austin, but in the same city that I do. You guys are very jealous because we have over 300 days of sun in the city. So all of you guys up in the north who are freezing right now, I just want you to know, even if it rains today, it's going to be a nice day. I can go on a walk in the rain.
It'll be a nice It'll be a nice rain.
Yes. And what do you think of the rain here? Because did you grow up in Austin, Linda? I think you told me once, but I forget.
I grew up in South Texas.
Okay.
So yeah, our rains were pretty dramatic when it did rain. So that's my experience with it.
See, I used to live in Michigan for a while, and before that I lived in California. I lived both in Northern California and Redding for 7 years. And the rain here is so dramatic by comparison. I love it. So you hear this boom, boom, this thunder. My dog runs into the bed because he's terrified of anything he doesn't know. And then you go outside and the rain sometimes coming towards you. And then you see the lightning go down and then up again. Like it's crazy how intense it is, but I love that. And then it pours. And then literally, guys, and ask Linda, and she'll verify this, an hour later, the sun can be out after it's been pouring rain. It's almost like the desert or something.
Absolutely true. That definitely happens. It's pretty great.
All right, guys. So I want to take some of these comments here. Hello from Germany. That is awesome. How is the weather right now? I'm just curious. It must be 9:42 p.m. over there right now, I'm guessing, Alex. Hey, Monty Cecilia, good to see you. Hey, Serena in Canada, how are you? Hello, Mohammed, how you doing? Hello, Nancy B. Mayesh Yi. Richard is here. We have a lot of people here. Big Tech, how are you doing? Shabazz Beg, Steve Gensons, thank you. Thank you so much, Steve. Sargis, JSEC. Seth, will your program help someone with no private label knowledge at all? Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what we do. We have some clients who make literally millions a month. In fact, a low month for them would be 7 million. And we have other clients who just start. Yes, absolutely we do. We take it from the beginning. The way the program Big Tech is to help someone who has no knowledge all the way to someone who has a ton of knowledge. So it comes out in stages. So you know every step of the way. That way, if you go to a video or a training course and you already know, you ask questions to learn more. And deeper and deeper. And we also have 8 full-time, we have full-time staff plus 8 paid coaches on staff who are constantly helping and coaching and meeting and answering questions. So Livingston Method. I would love to know what the Livingston Method is. That is a cool YouTube name, but hello, Livingston. Thank you, Steve. I really appreciate it. I'm just going through the comments here, Linda. Awesome, Stone Rose Seller. This is very live, so if you slap me, I felt that. No editing at all. Method just joined yesterday. Oh, that is so awesome. Oh, I think I know your first name, but I won't say it because it's not in here. I know who you are now. That's awesome. Yeah, really glad to have you on the team. Darren, how are you? Good to see you again. I think you were here last Saturday, right? Very cool. Antonio, thank you so much. Taking all day to watch all the member videos, take notes. Awesome. That's very, very awesome. And watch the webinars, Livingston. Some of the best stuff is going to be in those. Serena says, Linda, nice to meet you, Linda. Excited to learn from you. So that's a perfect segue, Linda. I'm going to ask you to tell me everything you know about tonight. Imagine that I knew nothing about photography, okay? And I started with my first product. Let's just say it's a coffee mug. I always have one of these because I drink tea. I wanted to get photos of it, and I can't afford a professional photographer yet. I can't afford an expensive camera. I have the sun, and hopefully it's a sunny day if that helps. Let's say I have an iPhone 7, okay? What advice would you give me? Like, what tips could you give me to get decent looking photos of this item, just to start off?
Well, honestly, if those were the only things that were available, that whiteboard that you pulled out earlier is a pretty good tool to have. Especially if you have a couple of those whiteboards, you could easily place your object in front of that whiteboard and then get another whiteboard to reflect light back onto your mug. And that would give you, in itself, probably a pretty good photo.
So I'm going to do it right now, Linda. I'm going to go get another whiteboard. And it's kind of cool because I did not plan on having these whiteboards in here. They just so happen to be. This is perfect. So I just want to demonstrate for everyone exactly what you're saying. So here's my one whiteboard, and I'm a little limited on space, but I'm going to try to make this work without knocking over my tea mug. So would I put my item on top of here?
You would probably want to put it, stand the whiteboard up if you want to give yourself a white background.
Okay, so I'm going to stand it up like this.
Like that.
Okay,
put your object in front of it.
Okay, so it's in front of it like on the porch or something, outside or inside, or does it?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, you would put it, stand it up somehow if you're outside. And then you can use the other whiteboard to put it in front of your object.
Okay, so I'm going to make this work. I'm going to hold this with my hand here. Check this out, guys. And I'm going to put my other whiteboard in front. You guys aren't going to see it, but do you mean like that?
Yeah, so basically what's happening is the sun is reflecting onto the whiteboard and onto your object.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Here, I have a few questions, though, to make sure I'm understanding. Should this item be against it, or does it matter? Can it be here?
I would say put it at least a foot in front of your board.
Okay. So let's say it's a foot in front, and I got my little stand on the back here for my phone, so it's sitting here. Okay. And then the other whiteboard, how far in front of here, I'll do it this way. How far in front of it do I put it? So if my item's in the middle, I'll just imagine it staying right there in front of my nose. This is the first one. How close should this one be?
It can go pretty far back. And what will happen is when the sun is hitting that board, you'll see the light hitting your object.
Oh, so the sun's hitting this board, and then it bounces back to the object with...
Exactly.
So it's kind of like it's capturing the sunlight between both.
Right. You're using that other whiteboard as a light source.
Gotcha.
To light your object.
Okay. So, remember when we went to you and Josiah, we used as a model, and your husband and I, we went to the River Run Trail out here in Austin, and you had that big thing. What do you call that thing? A reflector or something? It was silver?
It's a reflector.
Okay, is that the same concept?
It is the same concept. You're basically using the sun as you can model the light from the sun to light your object.
Okay.
And a lot of times that's all you need. That was a perfectly good example. I actually brought lights. I brought a stand, I brought a tripod. Right. But as soon as we got out there, I realized, oh, it's a nice sunny day. All I need is this reflector to hit my subject. And a lot of times that's the way it is. And a lot of times too, if you live in a cloudy town, you can use that to your advantage because that will evenly light your object. And especially if you are shooting for Amazon where they want just like a good straightforward shot, you can use that to your advantage.
So that brings up another interesting question. And I'll full disclosure here. Before I used your photography services, I used someone else's. She did a good job, but she definitely didn't have the professional level you did. And that is why I went with you, because I went to your website. In fact, I'm gonna share that now, you guys. You guys need to go to Linda's. This is what sold me on her product. Hint, hint, for those of you guys who are building your brand on Amazon, you need a website not only to get brand registered, but make that website badass. Make it really, really good. At the first, keep it simple about your services. So first, the website was sort of like, okay, first thing I'm seeing is this website. Now let's talk to Linda, see if I trust her as a person. Okay, now let's talk about negotiating, and now let's talk about actually having her do the job. And she did an awesome job. I've worked with many photographers. This is the first time I've ever interviewed a photographer. First one I've recommended to people. And there's a reason for that. So I'm going to type it in here. So it's lindafloresphotography.com. And
right.
guys, I'll chat it for you as well on here so you guys can grab it. There we go. lindafloresphotography.com. Everyone go to that website really quick and tell me what you think. Impression when you get there at that website. So Linda, I was going to ask you something else. That the morning light and the evening light are best. So I have two questions. Is that true? And then number two, if so, why?
That is true. It's true for certain subject matter. If you're shooting people, it's really good for that. It's something about your, when your sun is out in the middle of the day, it's very bright, it's very contrasty. You're going to have very deep shadows, and a lot of times you don't want that on what you're shooting, and it's harder to work with. So morning light and dusk, that's the best time because your light is basically being diffused, and that's kind of the trick to like photography in general is how you're going to diffuse your light and how you're going to work with it.
And by diffuse, and for those people who don't know what that means, by diffuse you mean spreading out?
Yeah, spreading out your light. You don't want a direct light on your subject because it's a lot harder to work with and it doesn't look as nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why they recommend shooting at those times. That's why if you're going to go shoot landscapes or anything like that, go out the beginning of the day or right when the sun is about to set, and you're going to get your best shots.
Okay. And then when you mentioned earlier the example of the product being between, so the board's on one side and the board's on the other side. Okay, so let's say this one is the background. So the product, you mentioned being a foot in front of it like this. So it might be a little further that way, right?
Can you say that again? Sorry, you broke up a little bit.
Yeah, no problem. So you'd mentioned that we have a background here, a backboard, and then the product can sit right here.
Mm-hmm.
And about a foot. And then the other board you said could be further than 12 inches this way, right? It could be further back.
It could, yeah.
Where should the sun in relation to that? Should it be up here? Should it be going this way? My backboard, here's my my prop, my item. Where should the sun be?
Ideally, it is coming this way. Like it's coming, so it's behind you. Yeah.
Gotcha. So then that brings up another question. What about shadows? Because I found that to be really frustrating in the early days of Amazon, is when you, even with the sun, trying to get a shadow out of the picture can be so, like, I'll just be blunt, it's a pain in the butt. Like if you have the sun directly, it's behind it. Then if you back up and you're just constantly trying to get the right angle, and when you get rid of one shadow, add on another one, how do you do that?
Shadows are just frustrating. The best thing to do, honestly, like what I would do is probably like take your object outside, kind of, maybe go at different times of the day, try and figure out like where the shadow is going to be hitting. It's really experimentation. That's why I like to bring in my own lights and again, I know that that's an expensive thing to do. Like obviously that's my profession, so I have gear. But I feel like if you are going to be selling a lot of products and you want to do your own photography, it's good to invest in lights, because then you can do things like control where your shadows are and things like that. But also that big reflector thing that I brought to our shoot, that thing.
Yeah, the silver thing.
Yeah, that thing is awesome because there's several different things that you have, like a black side, you have a white side, you unzip it, and then you have a diffuser. And if you just got that, you could put that like in front of your object and that'll totally take away your shadows.
Wow. If I was to find one of those, where would I go? To Amazon.com? Like where would I go for that?
You could go to Amazon.
Okay.
Amazon Westcott is the brand, and that's the best brand that you can find. They have
Westcott.
different sizes. Yeah, Westcott. They have like
Okay.
small diffusers, very large ones. They're usually pretty affordable. Yeah, that's, or you can go to B&H is another place you can go to, and that's
Heard of
just,
it.
yeah, they just sell photo equipment and stuff like that.
I see one here, $40, Westcott Photo Basics, 40-inch 5-in-1 reflector. So, okay, perfect, awesome. That's super helpful. So then that brings up another question. Actually, let me take some of these comments. It's perfect timing as I'm having my product designed and we'll need some good photos. This is awesome, Steve. Talk to Linda because she can help you and she makes amazing photos. You know, have you guys seen photos on Amazon where they're professional and then you see another photo and it's high-end professional? Another added dimension to it. You almost feel like you're there with it. That's the level of photos or photography that Linda does. And she doesn't just take the photos, she edits them so that they look amazing. That's why I went to her for our products. Eric says, thank you, graphics on your product pics. If so, what software works best? So I'll answer what I know about that question, and then I'll ask your thoughts on that, Linda. What you mean by infographics is, Eric, what I like to call is a tech spec picture, where let's say, you know, to use, we'll just use this iPhone as an example. So it might be a picture of the iPhone. That's a better example, because I doubt we're going to be selling iPhones private label. If you are, let me know how you work that out. So let's say you're selling a case and you have dimensions here that show you the width and a little line that goes like this. It'll say, you know, whatever, 5.5 inches. And then a line that goes down here and it'll say 5.5 inches. And another one for the thickness. And it'll say, you know, whatever, titanium steel. I doubt this is titanium, but that would be awesome. You know, or spring-loaded phone, and it shows you the angle, like real specific technical information that you add to the photo. The way we did it is we took the photos that Linda took for us, and then we had a photo editor. I had my assistant edit using Photoshop, just adding in those graphics to add those details. Any thoughts on that, Linda, or what is your experience with that?
Yeah, Photoshop is a great way to do it. If you have the whole Adobe suite and you're familiar, InDesign is a really great way to add text and measurements and things like that to your photographs. That's usually the route I go, just because there's a little bit more, it's geared more towards that kind of thing. But yeah, any Adobe product, basically, Photoshop, InDesign, and Illustrator.
Okay, so Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator, are those the three main tools that you use when you're editing your photos?
Yeah, well, for my photography, I basically stick with Lightroom and Photoshop.
Okay.
I'm actually going back to school for graphic design, so I've been using InDesign and Illustrator a lot for that kind of stuff. So, well,
maybe you should consider on your team, and you can be our onboard photo editor, photo taker.
All of everything.
No, that's super cool. Now, I have a question. Excuse me, guys. Thoughts on 3D rendering? And I know I did not tell you I was going to ask this question ahead of time, but I'm just curious, have you ever tried it, ever looked at it? It's becoming a little more popular these days. I understand it somewhat, but definitely not a pro. What do you think?
I am not too familiar with it. I know that actually the school program that I'm going to ACC for graphic design, and I know that that's one of the things that they are offering as a class. So I might end up taking that class. I don't know. I know that's like
Okay.
a whole other realm that I'm just not too familiar
Yeah,
with.
no problem. There's what I'm referring to, everyone, is sometimes you'll see a photo and you can tell it looks like half real and half 3D. Um, you're watching a really, really high definition Pixar movie, and they took a screenshot, and it's almost hard to tell if they used a real person or partly computer graphics, but it brings out a different feel and a dimension. And I find those really effective for tech spec photos. Now, what you can do, and this is something that we've been working on our end, is I will take one of the photos that Linda took because she edited it, looks beautiful, and this to a 3D rendering agent, and they can do that for you. You can find them on Fiverr. A lot of them in Eastern Europe are really, really good at this. And you just give them the photo, and if it's high definition photo, it works really well. I remember one of the first things you told me, Linda, is you helped me to understand the difference between a JPEG photo, a phone, and I think you called it a raw photo. Could you expound on that? Because I think there's a lot of confusion about that. You know, why can't I just do all the photos with my phone? You can get decent photos, but I know you don't use a phone. You use this pretty badass camera.
So there's different file types. JPEG is definitely the easiest to work with. You can get a really good photo from a JPEG, but there's also TIFFs, which I think is what I had asked you if you wanted TIFFs or JPEGs. TIFFs are less compressed files. Sometimes the JPEGs you tend to lose detail. You know, Amazon actually it takes both types of files, which is amazing. A lot of places don't do that. Facebook will not take a TIFF file. Amazon will, and if you have the opportunity to accept a TIFF file, to upload a TIFF file, I would do that because it's not a compressed file. You're not going to lose your detail. And, you know, Amazon, you can zoom in. You know, I was like shopping for my kid's Easter basket yesterday, and I was like zooming into different details, and I totally understood it. I was like, that's why they're taking the TIFF files, because I can do that. And that's what, I mean, you will not get that from a phone. You have to have a professional, or at least an SLR camera to take that type of photo.
Work together on this. If I want to go back to it. So I liked how you worked, because first you took a bunch of photos, then you sent me a link with the gallery so I could look at the photos and pick the ones I wanted, and then you edited those, made those really amazing, and then sent a link that I could download those with. Those final photos, are those TIFF files?
I don't remember what I gave you, honestly. I might have given you just JPEGs because I think I asked you and I think you said you wanted JPEGs. So I was just doing what the client wanted.
Well, next time you need to inform this client because he's ignorant.
Okay, I will give you TIFF files next time.
That's super funny. So Speedliner C62 says, Seth, love the way you offer up fantastic info with the no BS method. Thank you, brother or sister. I really appreciate that. And that is my commitment. And if you guys feel like you're getting BS, call me on it. That's why we're doing a really fun show later this week, Jungle Scout versus Amazal. I'm still waiting for the Jungle Scout guy to respond. But I haven't thought of like putting founder of Amazal. This is a tool. I'm sidetracking just for a minute here, Linda. It's basically a tool that helps you find huge potential products on Amazon. And there's a lot of talk going on about Amazal versus Jungle Scout. I'm thinking about putting one of the founders of Amazal, his like a picture of his head on a stick, and then Greg, the guy Jungle Scout, and so like one's here, and then we have like a, I don't know, a rap battle kind of theme, and we're gonna do versus and see which is better. And it's gonna be really fun, guys. So awesome. That's one of the ways we're keeping the BS out, is we're going to test these publicly, and I want you to be there and give us your feedback. Okay, check this out, Linda. Darren said, I made a PVC 24 by 24 inch with a white cloth background attached with clamps, and then I bought 2 battery-powered 60 LED lights. Pics are amazing. What do you think?
Yeah, I highly recommend. If you, LED lights are great and they're affordable, and I was actually, before we got together, I was looking it up, and yeah, you can get like a really inexpensive LED set.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's great. Another thing that you could do to make your photos look good, which is something I do a lot in the studio, go to Michael's, go to Hobby Lobby, and get a set of mirrors. with little clamps, and with your LED light set up, you can maneuver your mirrors and try to catch highlights on your object. And you can make your pictures look really good that way too.
So are you taking a picture of the item in the mirror?
No, you're using the mirror to bounce the light from your LED onto your object.
Gotcha. So it seems like in photography, 60–70% of it is about the light.
It is. That's what photography is. It's the light.
It's the light. And then the rest would be what? The camera, the actual equipment you have, because you can only get as good value to, right?
Right, and you know, you can take a great photo with an iPhone, but you're probably not going to get the largest file that you need. But if all you need is a small JPEG, then go for it. Use your iPhone. You can take a good picture with anything. You know, it just depends on what you need at the end. So
yeah. And you said something, I remember, about you needing a large file because it gives you more freedom when you're editing.
Mm-hmm.
Can you expound on that?
Yeah, if you have, you know, a smaller JPEG, you know, web-sized JPEG, it's going to be really hard to fix any details because the details go out. You're losing detail the more compressed your file is, and a web-sized JPEG is going to be it's going to not have detail in it, and so you're not going to have enough room. That's more difficult to work with than a highly detailed, you know, bigger file.
Gotcha. Very helpful. One of our goals, you guys, is when you walk away from a podcast, when you walk away from a video, and especially true on our coaching program, that you know exactly what to do. One of my biggest freaking frustrations on YouTube is I want to go learn something, and the title will say, I'm going to show you how to do this. And it takes 10 minutes to get to their point. And then finally, when they show me, they didn't really tell me anything. They just gave me an overview. Love to bring in people like Linda who actually do this. Like, she is a freaking professional photographer, and her photos look amazing. They're so good. Photos look bad. That's why I like her photography. So I want you guys to walk away with this with something you can apply. Shabazz says, how much time to get live? I don't know what you mean, Shabazz. MMX says, this is sick, so effing detailed. Awesome. Thank you, man. Darren says, does Linda have a YouTube channel? Linda?
I do not. I don't know what I would talk about. What should I talk about if I had a YouTube channel?
You know, I'm thinking how cool it would be. Think about how many photographers are out there trying to start a living as a photographer, and they really don't know what they're doing. Or they don't have a lot of money, so they need to start with something, you know, really cheap. As they make more money, they can work up to more expensive equipment. And I'm thinking about the photo shoot we did, Lady Bird Lake in Austin. Like, beautiful day, the sun is out. I mean, talk about an amazing place to be, you guys. It's so beautiful here in Austin. You need to move to Austin, you'll love it. And you're taking these photos, and I took a few snapshots because I like to share those with my team. Like, hey, guess what we're doing? We're out taking photos, blah, blah, blah. Imagine doing like a really quick 5-minute, you know, I don't know, video of what you're doing. Like, hey, here's how it works, here's how this factor works, and just showing people how to do it. It's amazing how many people will watch you because you're giving them something of value. So yeah, a hint if you ever want to do that.
Something to think about.
All right, the Livingston Method says, hey everyone who is just thinking about joining SES program just one dime, worth it. Thank you so much. That means a lot. Wyatt says, thanks for this video. Absolutely. Antonio says, great idea, kind of like a light box. Yeah, back to what Darren was talking about, how he created his own light box. Alan says, what is SES program? Do you have a link? Livingston says he's going to grab it. Awesome. Thank you so much, man. Darren says, yes, Antonio, also can make an shape open face for clothes. I would love to hear more about that, Darren, because we sell a lot of clothes. So that would be, I would love to hear that. The whole setup with lights was $80. That's not bad at all, Darren. Did you think that idea from YouTube? You have a link, says Antonio. Cool lighting, golden hour. How much more time to go live? Brother, we are live right now. We'll be live for a little while, but yeah, we're probably another 30 minutes. Okay, when you scroll down, it goes sideways. Way to get my attention, Linda. Okay, all these videos are recorded for members. Yes, this is true. Absolutely, these are recorded. Use foam inserts for light diffusion. What do you think of that, Linda? Have you ever tried that, using foam inserts for light diffusion?
I don't, I'm not sure, like, what kind of foam inserts.
But I'm curious.
Yeah.
And then Steve asked a good question. He says, what type of LED lights would you recommend?
Anything, I think most anything. I was looking on Amazon because I use strobes, so I'm not really familiar. I mean, I have used LED lights before, but it's very minimal.
Yeah.
One thing to kind of be aware of is your color temperature. You probably want to have something that's on the cooler side. You don't want to get LED lights that are too warm because it just looks very artificial. So
Yeah.
you want like a bright white LED light. You know, I was looking on Amazon and it seemed like a lot of people had like great reviews for, you know, a very minimal setup. And yeah, I would just say, you know, especially if you're on a budget,
Yeah.
start off with something inexpensive and it'll probably be fine.
And you know, something that helps too is, everyone, if you're starting, okay, so some of you guys making tons of money, some of you guys just started, some of you are in the middle. If you're just starting off, keep it simple. You know, that's how I started. My wife and I, we just started figuring out ways to do it. And we did use whiteboards. Now, we didn't know about the other whiteboard on the other side, so we lost out on that. But now we know. And then as you're able to afford it, get better equipment. Now, what I do recommend, and I'm not just saying this because Linda's here, I would tell you this if she wasn't as well, pay a professional photographer to do it for you, because time is your greatest asset. You can never get a refund on your time. The time that you spend, like this time that I'm spending, that Linda's spending, you can never get it back. Come back. So it was worth it to us to have this conversation. That's why we decided to have this conversation. So at some point, when you get a photographer to take care of that for you, you don't have to think about it. You don't have to worry about it. And they send you these beautiful photos. And now you just get to focus on selling to your customers. That's a really sweet spot to be in. There's no way I could have started like that. So Linda and I talked about this idea of maybe creating some kind of bundle where you could get the whole coaching program for a year, one-time payment, and include like 6 that Linda will take for you. We could do like 4 white background, 2 with props. And by props, I mean, well, how would you explain a prop?
Well, I can show you something I did for another client of mine. I'm going to go ahead and go to my screen here.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, so here's my website.
Yep, we can see it.
The last series I did were these. This is for Icona Lashes, and I work with her fairly frequently, and we do these types of prop shots. She actually provided that marble background and some of her props, but of course I will do that for you. But these are the types of prop shots that we're talking about. These are like the shots on white, you know, with the nice shadows and, you know, nice reflections and stuff like that. But yeah, these are more like our prop shots that we do.
The Livingston Method asked an interesting question, Linda. He said, when would you have a black background versus white, and would you do both? Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I would do both. Now, it's really up to the client. If the client wants me to shoot on black, I'll shoot on black. But usually white is what people want. You know, those first shots on my website, those were like super high-end shots. You know, we had an art director come in and we, you know, that's what they wanted. They wanted the black background. They wanted, you know, all of that. It's really up to the client. Whatever they want, I will do. So, yeah.
Yeah, I like the question. And here's something interesting. Your first photo on your Amazon listing, guys, it has to have a white background, and the photo has to fit into the frame. But the following photos don't have to be. So, like if we're doing like a ring, my wedding ring, this would probably look better on a black background, wouldn't you think, Linda? Or what are your thoughts?
You know, it's, again, I've seen it a lot on white backgrounds. What I do see a lot with jewelry is the reflection on the bottom. That's really popular. But yeah, the black background is going to bring out a lot of that detail.
Now, when you say reflection on the bottom, I just want to make sure I understand. So if this is the platform, jewelry's sitting here, obviously it's not going to be my hand, but there's a reflection of the jewelry, like it's reflecting there, almost as if this was a slight
Yeah,
mirror.
and I can actually show you over here again. This is fun, being able
cool.
to go back to my screen. So, oh, you can hear my son in the background. Sorry about that. Like down here, this shot right here, you can see there's a reflection on the bottom. Like that, this is a metal, that's a metal handle. So yeah, that reflection.
Nice. Yeah, very cool. So that's something. Now, do you do that when you take the photo, or does that happen in the editing, or both?
I try to do it when I'm taking the photo. That's the other thing. If and I'm just talking about personal experience here, but if you are a client and you want to have a drop shadow or a reflection or anything like that, you know, let the photographer know beforehand, because at least for me personally, it's easier to do in camera than in post. So yeah, those types of things. And also another thing I want to mention on behalf of all photographers is anything that's super shiny and metal is really, really, it's hard to shoot. It takes a lot more time.
I know this. Yes.
And a lot of photographers will charge extra for that type of work just because it's, you know, yeah, it takes a lot of time to do.
One of our first products we sold, Linda, on Amazon was these little cream that hang on your neck, and it was so difficult to get a picture. You take a picture, you're excited about it, you look at it and you go, wait a minute, that looks like me in the jewelry. And it looked creepy, like you could see her, and you don't notice it at first. Then later you look at it like, wait a minute, you can see me holding the camera. And so we go back and we even went so far, this is gonna make me sound really amateur, but I don't care, let's keep it real, right? I took a whiteboard, we cut a, actually someone else came with the idea and told me about this, but we cut a hole in it on the top. Then we put the camera face down like a cell phone on top of that, so that the white hopefully would be reflecting in the jewelry instead of what above. We felt pretty proud of it. It was pretty crude looking, but you know, it was
that's how you do it though.
So yeah, jewelry's hard. So a lot of people are asking about what you charge. You don't have to share as public if you don't want to. And here's another idea, it's totally up to you. If you guys are interested in Linda's service, why don't you shoot me, I'll make it public. You guys, I will give my email public. I'm not gonna put yours. So I'm gonna put my email down here. You guys can email me and I will forward it to Linda. And that way she has the ability to respond however she wants. But we have a few people who are saying, how much does it cost? How much does it cost? I'll tell you this, here's what I will say. And as long as you're with this, if we do a offer coaching services and 6 photos from Linda based on the price you told me earlier, Linda, then yeah, we could do that for one package, $1,200, you know, the 6 photos from Linda fully. That would be your total out the door cost, which is a ridiculous deal and includes an entire year of coaching 3 hours a week. We could do something like that, absolutely. But if you just want to go directly to Linda to get photography, you can do that. Shoot me an email. And what's the best way for them to get a hold of you, Linda? What are you comfortable with?
If you go to my website, there's a little form in the contact area. You can try and fill that out as best as possible. So far, it's working all right. It's something I just started doing, and I've been getting some pretty good responses from that. I am an email and texter. Phone calls are really hard for me. I have a 2-year-old, so you've heard me say that a lot, and I'm so sorry. But I'm like so scared I'm gonna have a BBC moment and he's gonna bust in the door.
It is all right. You can bring them on camera. So I will be, when I worked at Apple, Linda, I would be in a meeting. You know, Apple's very professional. I worked from home and no one's supposed to come in. Like that's one of the rules. We even put a thing on the door that says "Pop's working, no one go in." And sometimes my daughter, she just come walking in the background. So I learned to make it really fun, and it kind of embarrassed her too, but it worked because I told her don't come in. I would just say, "Hey, come on over. Hey, everyone, meet my beautiful daughter." And and the funny part is when it happened to my youngest daughter, she's very extroverted like I am. She's like, "Hi, everyone," and she's like, I'm like, "Oh shoot, what did I just do?" I'm like, "Go." No worries. We're all about keeping it real. It's fine. Did you guys hear that? So if you go to the website, there's a contact form. Go submit the contact form and ask her, and she'll send you prices. So
yeah. I'll get back to you.
I'm gonna go ahead.
I'll get back to you pretty soon too.
All right. So I'm going to take a few more questions. Alfred says, thanks, Seth, about to launch my first product. That is so awesome, Alfred. I wish you luck. I want to encourage you guys, when you launch your first product, it's the hardest. It's not going to be easy. And you're going to run into 1,400 obstacles along the way. And the only question is, are you going to find a way to get over the obstacle? It's not easy. Every launch is hard, but especially your first one, because you don't know what to expect. And that's why our coaches, we try to focus on teaching people how to de-risk themselves. We get so many people, Linda, who jump into our coaching program to launch, and I'll say, wait. Go through all the training. By the time you get to launch, you know what to do and you know what to watch out for. And that's a funny thing about entrepreneurs is we're very impatient people by nature because we want to see things happen, but that also means we don't have wisdom sometimes and we have to slow it down. So all that to say, Alfred, congratulations, brother. Trying to weigh down my first product, photos, or hiring Linda. Awesome. Hire Linda, Steve. She will do a good job. I only recommend tools in people who I use. Okay, guys? I don't recommend people so I can get some kind of financial kickback, and there's nothing like that between Linda and me. I've never been paid by her to recommend her services or anything like that. I bring stuff to help you succeed. Now, if Linda and I can join forces to help you better, us to get paid for all the work we do, that's fine, and that's fair because they do a good job. I use Jungle Scout as well. That's another story. You'll have fun with that. Kevin Peter says, but for LED, don't forget about C or L. I do not know what that means. Do you, Linda?
Honestly, I'm not like super familiar with LED. I've used it on a couple of shoots, and but they were all borrowed, so I don't really I'm not too familiar. I mean, I'd love to learn more about it. So if there's any resources out there, I'd love to learn. What I tend to use, I use handheld flashes a lot, and I use strobes. So but that's what I'm comfortable with, but it's a lot harder to work with. LED lights seem like they're super easy though.
Yeah, the lights in here, I'm gonna go grab one really quick. I'm right around the corner here, but I'm pretty sure. So I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it just got darker a little bit, but this is B45 120 volt. I'm not sure this is an LED light. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. These are studio lights, and they're very white. They're not yellow, and that's what I use here in my studio. If anything, and it helps you guys. Garage Flips. Lonnie, brother, how are you? Good to see you, man. Lonnie used to work with me at Apple. So he says, Linda, can you talk about your process of nailing white balance? Lonnie's a great guy to talk to because he loves photography. Talk about your process of nailing white balance either in camera or in PP. And I don't understand the question, so I'm definitely going to pass this one to you, Linda.
So basically, I'll use. I have a really good set of. I use Profoto lights, so those are white. They're white balanced for me. I rarely have to worry about color shifts. What I tend to do is I bring everything into Lightroom and I do my white balancing there. And that's just, just finding my neutral point and using that and just kind of doing it all as a batch at once. It really is all about, your equipment. It's a very rare occasion. I'm also a retoucher. The only time I have to worry about white balance is when I'm working on other people's photos, and that I just do it in Lightroom.
Can you help less uninitiated people in here understand white balance?
So basically that's just having like a neutral color. A lot of times what ends up happening is you will get a warmer photo, or a color shift. Color shifts just tend to happen depending on how you're shooting. So like if you're going to shoot your photos outside, you might have to worry about your white balance a little bit there. Any kind of,
where you get that sort of white glare look that makes like it almost looks like it was flashed or something, like like there's a white black contrast.
That's more a lighting issue. White balance is all about color. You want your object you want your photo to reflect the true color of your object. And so, yeah,
Gotcha.
when you're using different, artificial lights and things like that, it might cast a color on there that will, you want your photo might not look the way it should. And also, if you are going to be editing your own photos, you want to make sure your monitor is adjusted correctly, white balanced or whatever, so that way when you export your photos, it's looking correct. It's very
Because if your monitor was not adjusted correctly, it might look a certain way to you, but when it shows up on a website, it's not.
precisely.
Gotcha. And is this kind of like saturation? Because you can, like the Galaxy phone, theirs is super high saturated when you take a photo. Some people like it, but it's not as realistic. It's overly saturated. Like if there's a yellow, it's almost an orange. If there's a blue, it's almost like a purple. Like I don't know, it's almost too warm. Is that similar to white balance?
It's not really. Saturation is, that's definitely more of an aesthetic thing.
Okay.
That might show more of that might accentuate the shift that's happening in a photo that hasn't been, if you haven't calibrated your monitor or whatever.
Right.
If you add more saturation, those problems will probably become more apparent. Saturation I don't usually touch because, yeah, once you start messing with saturation, you're going to start getting an image that doesn't look like, especially with things like products and things you're trying to sell. You want your customers to see what your product is supposed to look like. So you probably don't want to add saturation or take away saturation. Just keep it the way it is.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. Pranay says, how much does she charge? So, and Sweet answers it, contact her on her website. So Stone Rolled Seller says he stopped using Jungle Scout after he started using Amazal. It's free. They have a free version and it does a ton. Nance B says, I second that. Darren says photography's. Pranay says, Seth, question. And you're getting tons of reviews video. You say that you put a discount for the public and tell friends about the discount, but if you don't have any rank, how will the public find it? I got to read that again, Pranay. So, and you're getting tons of reviews video. Oh, the video about reviews on Amazon. I'm with you now. You say that you put a discount for the public and tell friends about the discount, but if you don't have any rank, how the public find it? We use, Pranay, we use on our team I'm very protective about, because it's the result of a whole lot of planning and strategizing and learning from others. And I'll basically tell you the end result of it. The way we get reviews, actual discounts or discount codes. We do price drops, and there's a difference between the two. And we do it amongst trusted people who are not close friends, so it doesn't break any Amazon terms of service. And through that, you can get a whole bunch of legit reviews and boost your product really fast. And we also teach an Amazon hack along with that to push it forward to the front page. So I hope that answers your satisfactory. Seth recommends a minimal listing. Okay, got it. Yep, and that is one of those hacks. Yep, absolutely. Darren says samples, absolutely amazing photos. Linda says Steve, he loves the photos. Linda,
thank you.
Garage flips. Lonnie says incredible work. Linda. Shantu says black background are used for light emitting products. Exactly, 100% agreed. Shen Tanu. Steve says, do you create product videos or recommend someone? So Steve, in order to product videos, you have to have vendor account, which you can apply for. You send them an actual product that you want to get approved. The closest thing you can get to that is what are called video shorts. And those can be, if those are ranked highly enough, they can be the result of a reviewer doing a video. So one thing I recommend is if someone reviews your video or your product and they do a review for you, that's a huge plus. If you want to go the vendor route, which is much more expensive when you use what's called their A+ listing, because you have to pay a fee to do that, I would wait, and I don't know where you're at, so I'm not implying anything by saying this, but make sure you're making a lot of money first in Amazon and then move to vendor, because it's expensive. But once you have enough capital, you can turn that when it's kind of like the photography thing. Start small and keep building until you get to a point where you just have someone do it for you, and then you'll end up saving time. Luis says, can you give someone ordery light boxes? Ordery light boxes. I don't know what those are. Do you, Linda?
I do not know. Can you repeat that again?
Luis says, can you give me some input on the Ortry, O-R-T, light boxes.
I haven't heard of those. I'd have to Google that. I'm such a traditionalist. I tend to stick with, like the products that have been around for a really long time. So I use Westcott. One company I actually really like is Cowboy Studio. They have really inexpensive things that I have used before. That's definitely on the less expensive end. But yeah, I tend to use, Westcott, Chimera, Pro Photo, those types of things. Some of those things might be a little bit more expensive, but since I'm a photographer and I just, I have to make sure I have good gear. So I tend to stick with those, the products that I know and trust.
Yeah. Thank you, Linda. Antonio has a question, Linda. He says, do you do photo touch-ups on previously taken photos? So instead of taking them, he would pay you to touch up the photo itself. Is that something you do?
That is the other part of my job. I am a retoucher as well. But what I tend to do is I look at the photos and I'll tell you what I can do. And if I feel like, oh, it might be a lot for me to do it, I can recommend other people who might be able to do it for you. I would really have to look at the photo to know whether I can work with you or not.
Awesome. So just go to her website, Antonio, and go to the chat option or the contact form and just submit a question there, and then you can contact her directly if that works, if that's something she can do or not. Shabazz says, just saw your how I get a ton of reviews video. Thank you so much, Shabazz. Glad that was helpful to you. Okay, Alfred says, can you do personal chat sessions? I've seen most of your videos, but I have some questions. I do, Alfred, but I do it for a fee because I guard my time like a tiger because time is precious to me. So shoot me an email, seth@justonedime.com, and we can talk about that and figure that out. It says, is Jungle Scout calculator with FBA fees accurate? I'm not going to respond to that yet because we're doing a Jungle Scout versus a Mazow showdown. So let's test that. And let's see. I love the question, Iceberg. Luis says, just want to know how rounds captures daily. So yeah, I would use what we talked about before when Linda mentioned the white background here and then the white thing over here to reflect the back on it and the sun up there. Product here, another white background here, sun up there. Boom, take the photo this way. The light reflects back and forth. That's what I would start with, Luis. Don't have inbound shipping costs. Not sure about Jungle Scout. I know Mazow does have that and I use it a lot. Amanda says, great webinar, guys. Thank you. What is Linda's website address? It is Linda Flores let me go back to it. LindaFloresPhotography.com. And I posted it up higher. I'll post it again for you, Amanda, so you can see it. I'll chat it here in a second. Monty and Cecilia have a question. Linda, do you do lifestyle pictures for products? If they send you the product, would you do a lifestyle, like with a model?
Yeah, I do those types of photos as well. I'm just starting to get into that a little bit more, and I'm realizing how popular that is. So right now I'm trying to figure out how to incorporate models. Like I've been trying to find models who are willing to work with me. So far I have like a really good database of professional models who want to work with me. But I have to incorporate that into the price is the thing. Like, I have to pay my model. So,
Yeah.
So whatever, I will do it, but there's probably going to be an additional fee to hire the model.
So as a general rule, and tell me if I'm correct about this, if you just get a simple product photo white background, that's the lowest cost.
Mm-hmm.
If it has a prop, like it's in a setting, like on a desk or something, or under a tree, it's going to be a little more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it's going to be a lifestyle photo with a person where we provide the model, more expensive. And if you provide the model, obviously the most expensive. Is that accurate?
Yeah, because I'm going to have to hire the model, and usually they go hourly. So.
Yep, absolutely. It's expensive. Yeah. And, the reason using models is so important, you guys, is because faces cause people to build trust. If you just saw, in a coffee mug and it was this sitting and this, maybe not my face, but, so if you have a face with the product, people buy it more because when you see people's eyes, it's like the old adage, I think Solomon said it, the eyes are the mirror to the soul. People build more trust when they can see your face. That's what's so important about a model. And it makes the whole, especially if it's something like clothing, obviously you want to see clothing on a person, not just hanging on a mannequin. So it's important, but it is an investment. Okay, Shin Tenu says this: when you take a picture, the colors may change because of a pale ambient light or shadow. You do white balance by selecting the color white, and that readjusts the entire accordingly. So thank you, Shin Tenu. Muhammad says, if I want photos to show my product in action on location, so I think in this situation talking about either with props or lifestyle, would Linda take care of the whole process if we just sent her the product? I am in Canada. And I think that question, you might have asked it before we answered the other one, Muhammad. So she'll work with you on that. She's in the process of starting to get models. When we did it, we provided our own model, but she now has a database of models, and she'll work with you on that to help you with it. So, and the easiest way, and this is totally up to you and Linda if you guys work this out, send her the product if you're shipping from another country and say, and you get to keep the product, but take pictures and send me the pictures back. Cool. And they're going to end with all the awesome products from all over the world. I do know some people who do that. They're like, if you can take pictures of my product, you can keep it. Having it back, but take badass photos, send those back to me, and we got a good deal going. So awesome. Well, hey, this has been really fun, Linda. Thank you so much for being on this show. For those of you guys who've asked questions about Linda's photography and coaching, we'll put together a bundle for you. You can look at. I don't have that ready to show you right now, but if you want to do something like that, we can. If you just need photography, go to Linda directly. Go to her website and she can help you with that. I will say this, and I tell my team this all the time. One of the most important things for me when I work with anyone is integrity. And I just want to share this with you. And Linda, I know you didn't know I'm going to say this, and hope it doesn't embarrass you at any level, but it's in respect to you. I asked Linda, what photos can we use to feature what she does? She wanted to make sure we used photos that accurately depict, not overkilling it and not underkilling. Why? Because she wants to make sure your expectations are fair. That's why I respect and work with Linda, because that shows integrity. And that's the kind of people I like to work with. Those are the kind of coaches on our team. They're the kind of people who started helping people ever ask them this thing. How they do it as part for income. So that's one of the biggest reasons I recommend Linda. Not to mention, we have high-end photos on products that are selling multiple times a day with her photos on them. So this has been awesome. Linda, any words from a photographer? Any last piece of advice or encouragement or anything you want to say here before we close up this show?
I don't know. Yeah, just, you know, it's easy to do it on your own. If you really, you can always find a tutorial online to help you. And, you know, if you are on a budget, you know, don't get intimidated. You can easily figure out a way to do it at home. If you do want those high-end photos, I am definitely here to help. And thanks to the guy who explains the white balance thing too, because I'm terrible at explaining those types of things. So thank you so much. But yeah, that's about it.
Tinu Sharma. That was Shin Tinu Sharma. So yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Well, Linda, have an awesome day in that wonderful city that so happens to be my city. And we'll see you later.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone. Have a